Oh, Slushy Dubuckaroos, how the heck are you? You know who I am. So this is a kind of a riff on a classic, right? I basically took the Manhattan as a template, but then I kind of turned it out. I kind of, I did some things. So I'll be set here and check this here. No, the idea was, so I'm getting near the end of my Sweet Thumped rye, and I've drank most of it. I've drank most of it either as a Sazerac because I have their absinthe, or neat because this whiskey is just so insane. But it does make an incredible Manhattan. I didn't necessarily want to do it an exact Manhattan. I had an idea because this whiskey is so insanely good at that 110.6 proof. This is just such an amazing rye that I wanted to kind of take it in a slightly different direction. Because of the flavors and aromas that it imparts, I wanted to go a slightly different way and just to see how everything would work together. So here's what I did. I used 2 ounces of that whiskey. I used about 3/4 ounce of because a coupe cocktail should be a 3-ounce cocktail. It really should. Anyway, so I used about 2 ounces of that whiskey. I used 3/4 ounce of Grand Marnier, and then I used 1/4 ounce of some Amaretto, and then used some toasted almond bitters to really solidify what we're going for. So we put this off to the side here, pick up this cocktail and show you what we got going on. Yeah, it was kind of a variation on a theme, right? I had a little bit of amaretto left. I need to finish up. I'm getting near the end of my Sweet Thumped. I figure it's time to really work through it. But I've got enough for one more cocktail left. That's probably going to go for a Sazerac because I have the Neeley. Oh gosh, that's gorgeous. I have the Neeley absinthe. But I want to do one more thing with it, right? Because this whiskey is so good. In all honesty, I've always been torn because it is really it is the epitome of a rye whiskey that should be drank neat, but it just lends itself well to these classic cocktails that are spirit forward. So I used that whiskey with some classic Grand Marnier, giving it that orange, kind of got them going orange almond, if you're following me here. So again, I used about 3/4 ounce of that and about 1/4 ounce of the Amaretto, and then some toasted almond bitters. And gosh, I got a piece of candy in the glass here. That is just so beautiful. You wouldn't even know that this particular whiskey was 110 and change because it's just so delectable. And then, of course, that 80 proof Grand Marnier, adding that orange to that rye, and then the amaretto notes. Oh gosh, that's just an incredible cocktail. Of course, it's not a Manhattan. I'm not saying it is, but I'm using the Manhattan as a template to create this cocktail. Some would say you're using a old fashioned as a template. Here's why I say not, because I'm not adding anything else, right? I'm not adding a simple, I'm not adding a sugar. This is why it's closer to Manhattan because, well, I'm only using liquor. You know? I'm only using alcohol, which is what a Manhattan does, whereas an old fashioned wants to sweeten something up. That's what I'm not a great big fan of. That's why almost every cocktail I do is a derivative of a Manhattan. Gosh, that is beautiful though. I love those almond or amaretto notes. Again, just using that tiny bit of amaretto, right? I got that orange. I didn't need a lot of amaretto. I wanted that orange to really bind with that rice. That's why I used 3/4 ounce of orange. That's why I didn't want to do 50-50. I wanted to do 3/4 ounce of orange, just 1/4 ounce of amaretto, because I didn't want to sweeten it up too much. And then, but I added those toasted almond bitters to really solidify the nuttiness in there. Bottom line, that's delicious. Whether it's a marketable cocktail, well, that's a that's a conversation for another day. It is a great cocktail for me at this moment at my home. I would like to find a way to make it marketable, though. I would like to find a way to take the right ingredients, the right rye that's available to me here with the amaretto, the toasted almond bitters, because I really think this is a cocktail that a lot of folks would order, especially in the fall and winter. But what can I say? I'm that old school cocktail guy. I think everybody wants a coupe cocktail, and other folks think, well, you want a whole lot of crap in it. anyways, I digress. I digress, man. Well, I need to wrap this up so I can fix dinner. That is really nice, though. I like the rye with this particular rye with those amaretto notes. Oh man, it's just wow. But I will tell you that, in all honesty, the last bit of that Neeley's, I will probably make one last great big Sazerac because I have the Neeley's absinthe. So I will probably take it in that direction. So, anyways, or maybe I'll drink and eat. Who knows? But it'll probably end up in a Sazerac. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and man, that is a tasty cocktail. That really is. You would never know. That's a 110 and change rye. As easy as this is to drink. Wow, that's gorgeous. All right, good guys. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it.